What's up, everybody? My name's Andrew Krause. Welcome back to Music Theory Logic. Today is going to be another music theory breakdown, a series where I basically recreate songs that are popular so that I can show you where these notes come from. That is, the scales used in the song, the chords, so that I can hopefully help you to better understand music and to love it just as much as I do. So today's song is going to be Revolution by DIPLO. I should say DIPLO featuring, forgive me if I'm saying these names wrong, Imanos, Faustix, and Kai. Really just know them from this song. So yeah, let's go ahead and look at the logic session. Here we are. I'm really excited about this one because I had started doing this before I realized in my collection I had the acapella. I believe that is from a remix contest. So yeah, I'm using the acapella here. That's it from the original song. I will say before I play this that some of the sounds aren't exactly like spot on perfect, but I believe all the notes are spot on perfect, which is really the essential thing for the music theory compositional analyzing of the piece of music. But I did work pretty hard on the main bass sound, which I'm pretty proud of, and I'll go over that. So without further ado, here is the instrumental. We're at 148 beats per minute, and this is Revolution by DIPLO, my recreation. Here we go.
Too late to change your luck. So don't let them steal your light. Don't let them break your stride. There is light on the other side, and you'll see all the raindrops falling behind. It's a revolution, and we'll make it out tonight. It's a revolution.
Nice. I will stop it there. So hopefully that sounded like close enough to the original to continue watching. So again, everything you heard were these things you see, the green and blue stuff on the screen. That is MIDI controlled instruments for everything note-based that you're hearing, besides the vocal. And the drums are, for the most part, Logic built-in default instruments. I'm using Boutique 909 and Grimy 909. But then on the main verse section, I did use a sampled kick and snare and up or crash sound, just because I thought it sounded the best. Yeah, so this song is in the key of C minor. Let's go ahead and look at our reference scale. So C minor, the most basic version of a minor scale is A minor. So if you were to play the white keys starting from that note A all the way up to A, that is A minor. In fact, if you drew that on MIDI, something like this, and then you dragged it up to C, you will have a C minor. So yeah, C minor has three black keys or three accidentals. We have E flat, A flat, and B flat. These three notes. Everything else is a white key. Cool. The chords we use in this song are the 1 chord, the C minor chord, the 3 chord, which is E flat major. That's the relative major of C minor. Then B flat major. That's a major 7 chord. And then down to a minor 5 chord, G, B flat, D. So yeah, each of those chords is created from the scale. So to create the 1 chord, you would use the first note, the third note, the fifth note. That's C, E flat, and G. To create the 3 chord, you'd use E, G, and B flat. Just again, skipping notes from the scale. Fifth chord, we'd use G, B, and then not that, G, B flat, and D, which we'd find that note up here if we continued the scale. So yeah, that's again, all of these are triads. So that's a 3-note scale or 3-note chord. Each of these are diatonic. What that means is from the scale. So there's no notes that are not one of these 7 different keys. I guess C to C. One of these 7 different keys. Cool. Let's look at the actual song. We begin with basically just 4 on the floor. Got a bunch of different snare hits and claps, and a cymbal there. That's for the first 8 measures. Then we get this first main melody, which is going from G to E flat, G, B flat, G, E flat, down to D, G, F, G. So this is, again, none of the notes we're playing are outside of our scale, which was C minor. But notice we don't actually play a single C note there. In the other section, we do get our C. This is basically laying the groundwork for what will be the chords when the singing starts, which are super under a filter, so you can barely hear the harmony. But those notes are C, E flat, B flat, and G. So together we get this section. So again, in the main melodic section, we're not using a C, but we are basically using the other notes from the C chord, even I guess the minor 7 and the second note. Those are happening on top of a C chord, so together it sort of gives us the sound of C minor. Cool. I'll play that while you watch the melody. Here we go.
Can you see it? The worst is over. The monsters in my
Cool. So this next section, we get our chord progression, which we are basically going to skip the B flat until the second half of when she's singing. That gives us some good development, which developing a song is always important. So it's not one static piece of audio, but it takes the listener on an experience. So that's one thing we can see from the song. So our chord progression will develop from here. In the beginning of the verse, it's just C minor to the 3 E flat major to the G minor chord, although that's has no 3 in it, so it's really like a G5 or a G power chord. Drum wise, we have a cool little basically super heavy kick drum that's doing an 8th note and then like a syncopated pattern every other measure. And then we have a snare roll, which is hitting a halftime backbeat, but then also filling in. And then I have that under a little bit of low pass filtering. We get the snare roll, which is always fun to create this sound. So what you're looking at is a MIDI controlled sampler. In Logic, it's called the EXS24. Although if you were using like a drum rack in Ableton, this would be super similar. Where basically you're going to load your sound into the sampler. or if you're using another sampler, it'll be the same. Load it into the sampler and then draw in a pitch bend. So this is on one note, but the pitch is starting up randomly on 16, going down to -64. These lines don't mean anything. They're just a ratio of the settings within your instrument. So whatever sampler you're using, you're going to want to look at the pitch bend parameters, which is most likely defaulted to 2 semitones, which is what I left it at anyway. So yeah, that's that snare roll sound.
Finding people, listen up. It's never too late to change your luck. So don't let them steal your life.
Cool. So this second half of our verse or song moving here, having some mic stand difficulties. It's all right. That'll get us through. So yeah, in this second half of the singing, we get this violin melody, which also has another synth on it. I'm using Logic's Pop Strings. It's basically a melody, but really what it is in arpeggio. This is an arpeggio of the 5 chord, which is going G, D, B flat up to D. That's pretty cool. It's more interesting than doing an arpeggio on the 1 chord, and it adds a lot to this song. We get some more pads. The chord progression adds that B flat chord for the 3rd chord. So we have our full chords. Then in the second half, we get the first taste of the main drop melody. It's filtering in. I'm using a summing bus to basically just do one line of automation. So that's coming in, and then we get our main drop sound. So I will open that. Well, actually, let's just listen to it, and then I'll talk a little bit about the sounds.
Don't let them steal your life. Don't let them break your stride. There is light on the other side, and you'll see all the raindrops falling. It's a revolution, and we'll make it out tonight. It's a revolution.
Cool. So let's talk about the drop. So yeah, covered the chord progression 1, 3, 7, 5. The melodic stuff happening up to then. So yeah, musically speaking, the drop is super simple. We're just repeating one note in the melody. That note's the 1. So we're in C minor. We're just playing a C over and over again. That's really important because it sounds huge, but that has to do really with the sounds we're using rather than the number of notes we're using. So for those of you that haven't been producing for very long, you may hear a lot of like exciting things in music you listen to and think it's notes flying all over the place, but that's not necessarily the case. So yeah, we're basically doing 4 quarter or 3 quarter notes, 1, 2, 3, and then doing sort of a syncopated dotted quarter or dotted 8th note into a 16th note. So on the first box and then in the 4th box, and then we get 3 16th notes together, skipping the first one. And that pattern repeats each measure until we get to the second half of the drop, where we basically just get the ending section of that. To me, the big part of this drop sound comes from the sub line. So let's talk about that really quickly. One, it has the pitch bend happening. So if we listen to just the sub, you're going to hear it go like, wow, and move down to the notes. Nice. So those kind of movements can actually create like a really cool sound in especially like trap music has that a lot. But try using it in some of other styles of music. Sort of, it's reminiscent to like a slide of a bass player. So how I did that, it's a pretty simple instrument in Serum. I'm just using analog BD sine. I am low on the keyboard, C1, so I'm not moving the oscillator down an octave, leaving it up there. Doing, let's see, adding the sub, but really the money stuff comes from this pitch bend parameter. So I found that 9 semitones in conjunction with the MIDI that I wrote sounded the most like the song. So I wrote this MIDI and then with my ear changed that bend parameter to get it closer. Cool. Then the main drop sound, I know for those of you that are super on the sound designing side are probably going to hate on me for this. I know the sound is not even close to exactly what is on this track. But I did get the sound somewhat close in the sense that we have a drier sort of vocal-ish bass sound that's hitting, and then we have a very wet with reverb secondary sound that's more like squeaky and is up an octave. So I hear that, and again, I'm really proud of the bass sound. I think is pretty close. Drum-wise, we're doing halftime trap music. Not surprising, 148 beat per minute. We're on our snares hitting the beat 3, super standard for the genre. Then our kick is somewhat active here. We're doing that again. I called it triplet, half note triplets. The kick pattern. Some syncopation. We get more kick drums than we might get in some other kinds of music, and the reason for that is that this kick drum is very it's punchy, but it's not subby, if that makes sense. So there's not a lot of low end on that kick. The reason for that is that in this trap music, this 808 sound, or like the main bass instrument I just showed you, carries the weight there for that low end. So you really only ever want one thing that's creating something that's a super sub or something under, let's say, 70, 75, 80 hertz. So that's usually in music going to be either your kick drum or your bass instrument, or if it's house music, it's both. But we have both because of using something called side chaining. In this, I'm not side chaining it. I think of this as more like team kick bass. So these are always hitting at the same time. The kick hits some extra accents, but the bass always hits when the kick hits, or the kick always hits when the bass hits. Anyway, so that our ear hears them as one thing. So it's not like they're clashing. Cool. So yeah, when I first got into producing dance music, I really loved this song. Huge DIPLO fan. This is one of his more poppy records, but it's also one of the bigger chart topping records that he has. I know he has quite a few. This is definitely up there. So yeah, hopefully this was helpful for you. Once again, my name is Andrew. If you found this helpful, I would love for you to leave me a comment below, perhaps subscribe to see the next music theory videos that I make. And I will link to my textbook below, this music theory textbook I built for people aspiring to make popular electronic music. I'll also link to my own music below if you're curious to listen to what I make in addition to these tutorial videos. Yeah, I hope this helped. And as always, I hope you're having a lot of fun making music, because that's what it's all about. Enjoy it, and till next time, let's keep making those crazy tracks. I'll see you guys next time.